All right, so hi everyone. My name is Rebecca. I'm an anesthesiology fellow finishing a fellowship at Sick Kids. And I do some work at postgrad in medical education, specifically trying to plant a seed that will help change feedback culture moving forward across postgrad at U of T. My color is purple in the slides. I've got slides and I have a handout that kind of summarizes a few things that we've been working on. But specifically today, I think I want to talk about the why and the how of why we planned out and implemented what we have done. So I'll just kind of loosely follow along my slides. So I think we've talked a lot today about the ideal feedback culture, so one that's built on an educational alliance, one in which there's, sharing of information to improve performance, longitudinal relationships, a culture of continuous improvement, all of these great things. And then conversely, I think there's a lot of literature out there as well in medical education talking about what our current feedback culture may or may not be like, where there is potentially an apparent failure to fail underperforming trainees. There is an apparent lack of feedback from the trainee perspective and a disconnect between how much feedback is given from the faculty perspective. Feedback is seen as breaking bad news. It's seen as a threat to autonomy when a trainee is directly observed. There's this culture of high achievement and excellence, and feedback is potentially a threat to that. And there's a culture of kindness and politeness that also can potentially get in the way of constructive feedback. So in thinking about what we wanted feedback or the ideal way that feedback in theory should look in CBME, we identified a few principles on which we based our approach to help catalyze change in feedback culture. So the key features that we identified as guiding our interventions are that we thought that feedback is a relational process, and it was a relational problem in a way. And so a lot of our interventions are based on the interaction between the faculty and the trainee in co-learning together and co-dissecting this difficult process together to help build shared mental models and a shared understanding of the sticking points and how it can be challenging for both parties. So for a relational problem, we wanted to bring a relational solution. We also thought this was a bidirectional process, one that relies on both a push for feedback from the feedback giver, but also a pull for feedback from the feedback receiver. And we thought that was a skill that needed to be developed, and we needed to build skills not only in giving feedback with feedback models, but also in providing frameworks whereby seeking feedback doesn't mean failure, and it just means continuous improvement, and emphasizing the importance of that. We realized that this was a problem that was embedded in institutional culture, and so wanted to empower some local champions to bring change to their specific departments and their specific cultures. And also there was a local problem. And each department, I think, has differences in their culture of feedback and requires specific solutions at different areas in that interaction that can be difficult or challenging. So those were our principles, and based on that, we implemented 3 different interventions. The first is a feedback workshop, and what we thought was important with this workshop is that we bring faculty and trainees in one department together for a 1 to 4 hour workshop to work on feedback together, to co-learn different skills, to manage the feedback interaction, to work through some local issues or challenges that had been brought to the group previously and kind of work through those together to develop some solutions. And what we found very powerful in this was the interaction between the trainee and the faculty and the kind of realization from both parties of what's difficult at what point for whom. And the building of a shared mental model kind of that can be used as a framework going forward. And also the local nature of this, working through local problems, local issues, a lot of them being quite similar, but a lot being very different across different departments. So that's our workshop, and we've presented that at a number of different departments here and also at internationally at some conferences. Secondly, we developed an award or a grant for local feedback initiatives in CBME implementation. So the key part of this project is that the projects must be local and then must be brought forward by a dyad of a faculty and a trainee who are working together to implement CBME in their department and improve a problem that they've encountered. So through this, we develop we bring the dyads together and all the recipients together for a couple meetings where we share resources, learning, there's networking, and opportunity to share and co-learn together. And we found this was quite helpful as well because a lot of people are dealing with quite similar challenges, and we're working in silos to develop similar solutions. And the networking and the ability to chat and share challenges and solutions also seems to be quite helpful. And also, again, just that opportunity to share and to interact the faculty and the resident together in sharing perspectives, and again, empowering essentially local solutions, local champions to bring back these solutions to their departments. And the last part of our approach has been just a resource bank, which is online. It shares a number of books, some videos, some handouts that can be used, and brief notes summarizing what is coaching, what's help seeking, and other important topics in feedback in CBME. So to kind of summarize the key parts of our approach, we want to focus on the relationship between the faculty and the trainee. We're both going through this and co-learning how to manage this potentially challenging or difficult process. We wanted our approach to be tailored to individual departmental needs, and we feel that this kind of does this and helps with a ground-up approach to changing culture, which of course, changing culture is very a hard task, of course. We hope that we're empowering some local champions and local solutions to this big institutional problem. And finally, what we've learned that while there are a lot of common challenges, there's no kind of one-size-fits-all solution, and solutions need to be developed at the local level. We found that the interaction between the faculty and the trainee is very powerful in terms of just building a shared understanding of this, breaking the ice, putting the problem out in the open, whereby we find it's kind of just easier to approach it afterwards. And finally, we found that networking has been very useful in terms of sharing information, solutions, problems, and different approaches during this time of transition that everyone we're all going through. That's it. Thank you.